Hello folks, I am so glad to be back here with you all in 2023, a new year, supposedly a new me. That's what New Year's Day is all about, resolutions, but we're long past that. It is the middle of April, and that only means it's warm again, very warm here, but generally it's getting warmer in America, which means only one thing: new adventures here on the Coverage Project. Now, to me, this is a very exotic location, but if you live in the Southwest, this may seem like a normal day. A bunch of desert vegetation, cacti all around us, trees that seem durable enough to withstand the desert conditions. That's right, we start out our newest journey, not quite in a new state, but we'll have plenty of things to see today, and we'll be visiting quite a lot of new places over the next 6-7 weeks. That's right. Seriously, we're not even in the bulk, the real meat of today's adventures, but already I am having so much fun in this desert landscape. Look at the size of these cacti. So here's the latest. It's finally warm. We finally began our newest, I think this is our 10th official tour. Double digits. Love that. It took me over a week to get from the northeast down to the southwest of the country. We are once again in Arizona, but we're not in the north. We are in the south, in the largest city of this state. Additionally, it is the capital city of the great Grand Canyon State. So of course, to start off our best of the most west official tour, I welcome you all to the great city of Phoenix, Arizona. So we are in Phoenix. Phoenix, yes, that Phoenix in Arizona, the 5th most populous city in America. Everyone seems to have an opinion on Phoenix. Maybe it's your ideal vacation or retirement destination. Maybe it's just way too hot. But before we have Phoenix, the city that we all know of today, there was a different Phoenix, a different settlement, not yet called Phoenix, but we gotta go back to ancient times to understand and discover this place's roots. Now you can probably tell from our surroundings, this is a very hot and dry place. Phoenix is located in southern Arizona, and we're at the northern reaches of the Sonoran Desert, one of a few officially categorized deserts in America. So it is always sunny, hardly any rain will fall upon the ground here. It also doesn't really get that cold. The flip side of that is that this area, the Valley of the Sun, appropriately named, will reach the mid-hundreds during June, July, those hot months. It is scorching. But right here in April, it's a nice, pleasant day. What I'm getting at, though, is that here in southern Arizona, it would have been very, very hard in this desert to build a society. But it just so turns out that humans can survive in almost any climate. They're very adaptable creatures. About 1,000 years ago, the Hohokam culture inhabited these lands, settled these areas, and these people developed the first set of aqueducts and irrigation canals here in the southern Arizona Valley of the Sun region. Their descendants are today known as the Ohodum Nation, and you can find them in between Phoenix and Tucson. But it turns out that these ancient canal systems were highly effective in creating an agricultural community here. And that's why here at this Pueblo Grande Museum, or more today known as the Seed of Vaaki Museum, showcases the original settlements of these ancient people who created the framework, the foundation even, for the reasons why Phoenix is such a huge area today. This museum's great trail that I'm walking on right now really showcases that even in a dry, desolate desert, all things are possible. Through a little bit of ingenuity, you, or just people in general, can create a society even with very, very little resources. I encourage you all to check this place out, the Pueblo Grande Museum, now called the Seed of Vaaki Museum. So how did a little settlement in the desert turn into a thriving metropolis, ever growing, 1.6 million people, and probably going to be much greater in the future? Now, to see all these trees in the middle of a low desert, well, something's off. You know, my suspicions tell me waters abound. That's exactly what you need in order to grow and develop a society. So of course, if the original settlers were trying to find a place to settle, well, this would be it, right where we are. This is the Salt River. It's a tributary of the larger Gila River, which will eventually merge into the Colorado River. But it is here where the first white settlers found a sense of promise here. At first, this land was under Mexican control, and then after the Mexican-American War, the Americans were ceded this land. But when they came across some ancient Hohokam ruins, the Americans who came here were like, wait a minute, civilization once existed around these parts. Oh yes, they saw those ancient irrigation canals. And the idea sprung about that, hey, if there was once a civilization here and it was now deserted, they didn't know at the time, but various environmental changes to this area caused the ancestral Sonoran people during that Hohokam period to abandon those areas. And so they lay ruined, as any ghost town would be. But the idea was had that, hey, if there was civilization here, why not name our new settlement with respect to what once was? The idea that the name should be called Phoenix, just as a phoenix rises from the ashes of the ground, so too shall our new city of Phoenix. Little do they know, though, that this would not only be a large city, but an extremely large city. And some of you might be thinking, this is a river? Yeah. I mean, what else are you going to expect in the Southwest? Sure, maybe the Colorado River is going to be large, but most other rivers are going to be the size of creeks that we in the East would easily find in abundance, but it is very dry, not much water here. So this is the best the people of Phoenix have, the Salt River. From this river, the American settlers would further develop the ancient system of canals that were once there and modernized it as Arizona became a territory and later a state to create a substantial farming community. So history says that Phoenix was officially settled in 1867. A couple decades later, in 1889, it was officially made the capital of the Arizona Territory. And this replaced the previous capital of Arizona Territory, Prescott. Eventually, Arizona was no longer a territory. In 1912, Arizona became a state, one of the last states to be admitted to the Union. And that means if you do the math right, not that it's complicated math or anything, but in 2012 celebrated its centennial, its 100-year anniversary as a state. Oh, look at that, the great seal of the state of Arizona. 1912. And if you're watching in 2112, talking about the 200-year anniversary, you could tell my grave what happened. But the USS Arizona was a big and powerful ship used by the US military. Every state has their USS this. And I guess it makes sense that there is such a grand, huge military memorial presence here at the Arizona State Capitol Complex area, because sadly, in 1941, the USS Arizona, stationed at Pearl Harbor, was attacked and sunk. And that's what started America's involvement in World War II. So perhaps this all pays respect to not just World War II, but probably many wars such as Korea and Vietnam that residents of Arizona have taken part in. And so that is all very nice, paying respect to the fallen soldiers and paying respect to the veterans. Wow, what is up ahead of us? That is quite a large building that we see. Well, of course, Phoenix being the capital city of Arizona, it's only fitting it gets its own state capitol building. Yes, another one ticked down for the state capitals of the US. What is this, like our 34th, 35th? Incredible. Now, the Grand Canyon State gets the pleasure of holding this as their capitol building. That's right, from the northern canyons of Grand Canyon down to the deserts, the Sonoran deserts where we are, and everything in between, the forests, the rivers, the lakes, anything else you can imagine. Yeah, unless anything in Arizona has federal control or tribal control, this building functions as the administration of anything in this state. I really do like how it's a little bit different from all the big, grand neoclassical buildings. It was made in 1901, well before Arizona became a state. So this was the last territorial capitol building, and it looks mighty fine. Let me walk away from the building for just a little bit to show you the dome. I really like the dome. Now, Arizona is also informally known as the Copper State. Is that a copper dome? It must be. What a great use of the state's resources. Now, this is no longer really the big administrative building it once was. It's more of a museum where you can go inside and explore and discover the wonder of Arizona's culture and history through the years. So let's see what is on the inside. Isn't this cozy? From this room long ago, you might have heard the chit-chat of various state officials arguing against each other, maybe passing laws, who knows? But it is sure cozy. Once again, though, I'll make this a big point. This is more a museum, not really the modern place. I mean, it is the working capital. Official Arizonan lawmakers will pass by this area, but it remains largely just a museum for the public enjoyment of a historic Capitol building, preserved and for the most part intact. If you do want to go to the modern state Capitol building, be prepared, it's very boring. See, as you can tell, there's a difference between architecture, there's a difference between purpose and function. That's the fun side, that's the kind of the boring side, I guess. But you know what's not boring? The next area of Phoenix we're about to explore. Wow, lots of pigeons here in Phoenix, Arizona. Wow, I had no idea. There's lots of tents. Lots of people living in tents, unfortunately. Wow, more tent cities. I guess go figure. Fifth largest city in America, there's bound to be a lot of those encampments. Oh, I can't wait to do this.
Wait.
Nothing like the good old days. Alright, so it's pretty clear that we are in the downtown of Phoenix. All the high-rise skyscrapers, beautiful buildings. It wasn't always like this. For the first half of the lifetime of Phoenix as a city, it was nothing more than just a farming community with those developed irrigation canals allowing for the first waves of settlement. But all that changed around World War II. By the time the Second World War rolled around, Phoenix was transformed into a military city, essentially. Not just the manufacture of war materials, but also the training of soldiers. So lots of people who were involved in the military came to know Phoenix as a place near and dear to their hearts. Once the war ended, a lot of these military personnel came back to Phoenix. I guess they liked the weather so much, brought their families with them, and then there was this untapped labor force that companies realized, and they came en masse to Phoenix. Lots of companies, mainly high-tech and manufacturing companies. Maybe those are the buildings of the former companies, maybe the current companies that are still here in Phoenix. A legacy of that post-war boom. That combined with the development and public use of air conditioning made the summers here at least bearable, tolerable. And so that explains the huge, massive growth that Phoenix underwent in the 50s and 60s for decades. When you think of a city that was maybe in 1940 or so, like 65,000 people, and now is, well, if you include its metro population, millions and millions and millions. The fact that this all occurred within a span of 50, 60, 70 years is nothing short of impressive. And Phoenix, even today, is still quite an attractive city to live and work in. It doesn't hurt that the warm weather combined with the great atmosphere of these palm trees and clear skies. I mean, I kind of want to move here, but there's a catch. Because of the massive population growth, that means you're going to get a lot of urban sprawl. Phoenix is essentially the poster child for the side effects of population growth, that urban sprawl with all the houses for miles and miles and big, big shopping plazas full of all the chain stores you've already seen a million times. Well, that's Phoenix, downtown Phoenix, from a very far distance. Can you believe it? This is the whole area, the whole urban sprawl, and at the very foot of it, there's us, here at the mountains. This is South Mountain. I think it's one of Phoenix's many different parks which allow you to see Phoenix from such heights. It's a beautiful sight around us. We have cacti, jagged rocks along the mountains, slopes, and it's perfect to see everything we've discovered kind of in a nutshell view. And yeah, it's mostly flat with a few mountains in the distance here and there. That's pretty much what the bulk of the Southwest is like. Very, very flat with a few steep rises every so often. Can you believe it? We're in a hot desert for the first time. Every other desert experience we've had, that's been a high desert. This is significantly lower in elevation, and it means the temperatures on average get much hotter. That's why up in the north of Arizona and Utah, it stays kind of okay in temperature. But down here, it's basically normal for it to get very, very, very hot. Well, we did it, everyone. We covered Phoenix, our first stop on this tour through the best of the most west. In terms of the contiguous US, we've pretty much covered almost everything except for the most western parts of the US. That's right, the Pacific Northwest, all of California and its regions, even parts of the inland west we have not discovered. I'll keep a lot of that a secret until we reach these such states and regions and destinations. But you all should be very excited just as much as I am. So yeah, that is the best of the most west. It's definitely not going to be as long as the Frontier Americana tour, but it's still going to be a substantial amount of destinations, enough to get our fill with this region. 2023 has only begun. We have yet to see so much content, so many places to explore. And 2023, if we all have it in our ideal way here on the Coverage Project, this will be the year that we complete every single state in the US. We only have seven states left. It's very, very exciting to be so close and yet so far away. I guess that's only for our enjoyment to come. And also, y'all are gonna have to forgive me if I'm a little bit caught up with the winter nerves. I still haven't gotten into the groove of everything. Hopefully, continuous, consistent travel will sort of loosen me up as we begin this new tour. It's been 6 months since I've really been on the road for a long-term adventure. But not to worry, it's been done before. I've loosened up before like this last year. So, with that being said, I want to just say goodbye from this immaculate view of Phoenix, the largest city in the Southwest. So what more can I say other than looking at a beautiful view of the 5th largest city in America right here at almost the summit of South Mountain. Very eager to start our wonderful journey through the westernmost regions of the US. More travels to come. I will see you at the next location.